Welcome and thank you for joining our Music for Global Change broadcast with founder and music ambassador Skyler Jett and presenter Tom Bryant and Ryan Shuchuk. And our special guest today is Arif Khatib. Well, welcome to the show, Arif Khatib. You're originally from Kansas. You moved to Richmond, California, and you went on to establish several companies, amongst them a record label, a publishing company, an entertainment production company, and a boxing promotion agency. You created African American Ethnic Sports Hall of Fame as well, which is interesting. I want to talk a little bit more about that with you. So welcome to the show, and please tell us more.
It is my delight to be with you guys, and I'm honored, and thank you so much for the invitation. Basically, what you've read there would be a brief bio of what I've done, and I've been blessed and thankful to have been able to do all these things, and I'm reaping the rewards by being able to give back and talk to people like you.
Oh, you still walk 90 minutes a day?
Every day without fail. Even when I'm traveling, I come out to the hotel and I walk.
And how long you been doing that?
Faithfully since 1996.
Okay.
When I said faithfully, that's me daily.
Yeah.
You know,
every day.
Rain, shine, sleep, doesn't make any difference, snow, whatever.
Yeah.
I get it done, bro.
Yeah, because when you used to come out to our place out there in Napa, hey, which way do I go? That's inspired me like no end. I mean, you know, the walking that you do every day for 90 minutes, right? So, wow. I mean, it really keeps you alive. You know, I believe. You're my last uncle left on both sides of my family.
In my opinion, it delivers great benefits, both spiritually and healthily and emotionally.
Yeah,
it's just part of my life. I have to do it. I do it at 6:30 my time here every morning. Sometimes when you're traveling, you have to make adjustments. When I was in Africa, I was walking like it was 4 o'clock in the morning because there was time difference.
Yeah,
but it was cool because you could walk safely on the street and people going to work and you never had to worry about it. They knew that I went for that, but it was all right.
Wow. Tom, you got a question?
Yeah, well, as I've mentioned, you've been involved and obviously started multiple sorts of companies. Why the different sorts of companies? What got you into, for example, the boxing promotion agency as against the entertainment world? Was it something that drew you into that? Or how did you get into that?
You know, if I were to review all these things that I've done, I would not have an answer for it. They were spontaneous. Yeah. I'm basically a dot connector. And I follow the dots.
Okay.
Some of these things are generated as a result of that. I had no real plans except in 2000. When I established the Hall of Fame, I had a distinct plan by that time, but then I was almost a senior. And so I knew exactly what I wanted to do. But before that, they were all spontaneous. I stumbled in some of them and others brought me in. People suggested I do certain things. They made it happen, and here I am. They thought that I had the ability to carry it out. And so I'm thankful for their confidence in me.
Yeah, it's very diverse, some of it. Yeah.
And you got a new movie out.
Yes, absolutely.
Tell us about that.
Well, the film, I am so pleased to announce to the world, the music theme is the person we're talking to here right now, Skyler Jett. The film has done really well. Not surprisingly, but it has done well because of the content, and I'm not patting myself on the back. But I did a lot of work over 10 years, research, and it's time. It's really about exposing unheralded athletes of color who have gone without the recognition that they deserve. And it's ironic that you should mention that, Skyler. Just about 15 minutes ago, I sent you an email on your other address letting you know that an agreement that I have with the person in Lithuania is shopping the film, and apparently Discovery has some interest in it. And I think he's also showing MGM. So we'll see what happens to it. But it's been online now for sale, and people are buying it. They're going to the trailer, and they've been very impressed with the film. And so I'm happy that it's finally out there. But I thank you. When you first came on board around 2008, 2009, and I told you I needed a theme song for the film because they believed. And being the great talent that you are, you delivered it instantly. And people liked it. They liked the tune because they believed.
Well, I love you, Uncle, and I'll do anything for you. So I'm happy to be a part of your film. So, Ryan, you got a question for your uncle?
Yeah, I mean, this is an honor for me. I mean, I get to meet my great uncle for the first time, and it's your birthday, so happy birthday. I could probably ask you a million questions just because I'm still learning about my past and my father, and obviously, his family, including you. But I'm also really interested, when I started to read more about you and, your move as a child from your family in Arkansas, and then you moved to the West Coast, you moved to the Bay Area. Like, you talked about all of your connecting the dots, and, I'm an entrepreneur myself. And so I was just like, I wanted to get a sense of like what drove that entrepreneurial spirit in you. I know that you went to business school, things like that. I mean, was that part of it? It was just like the area you were raised in and grew up on? Like, what drove wanting to create so many businesses?
It's in my bloodline, and therefore it's in yours. It goes back to the ancestors. I know that a number of that has been because of education and school, but it started with my dad.
Okay.
My dad was an entrepreneur, and I have so much respect and admiration for how he made it to the point that he made it. Coming from Arkansas, being born in 1888, he had a lot of things he had to take care of, and consequently, he was able to do them. He was a sharecropper. He and mother never owned a piece of real estate. I gave my mother a house after he passed so she could have a property in her name. But when he came to California, he came without basically an education, but he had a lot of entrepreneurship. And became an entrepreneur. He became a person who sold vegetables. He grew and sold vegetables. He raised chickens and he sold their eggs. He was just a fantastic, incredible man. And I guess that's where I came on from, because I learned how to become an entrepreneur at an early age, and it stayed with me forever.
Now you had Skytime Records.
Skytime Entertainment.
That was amazing because you got that big old jet for me to stand in front of, military jet. I'll never forget that. That was wonderful. I'm like, and they put my name on the side of the jet. Now, that was amazing, man.
And that record label was named after you, because Zeralda calls you Sky. And so when we did your first record, I felt it was Sky's Time.
That's right.
So therefore, the record was named, the company was named Skytime Entertainment and Records. And yes, you're right. That was phenomenal what we were able to accomplish with the F-18 jet, because you may recall when we was over at the Naval Air Base, Colonel Conway Jones went through the Pentagon and was able to facilitate that. And then the person who owned that plane, that was his plane, he said, "No, you can't do this." And Conway told me, "Just be all right, it's going to be fine." And we went to San Francisco, if you may recall. They get you to Army fatigues and dressed you up and put your name up on that jet. And they told you can't go in it because of the radar.
Right.
But you can go up so far. And on the cover of that album was you standing up on that jet. And yes, it was phenomenal and amazing what we were able to do. And all of that comes from connecting dots and friendship there. Colonel Jones was a friend of mine. He did it through the Pentagon.
And that song wound up being in a movie with Rick Moranis and Tom Arnold. That's Life.
Yeah, that's life.
That's life. Yeah, man. It's still so funky. It's ridiculous, right?
Yeah, and you wrote it for your dad.
Yeah.
I influenced, not for your dad, but influenced by your dad.
My dad and my mom. That's life. Yeah. That's the way it goes. Sometimes it goes that way. You better be glad you're living.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
That the cassette, we only did it in a cassette, we never went to any other thing. That cassette, I found out later, was turned into a vinyl. It's been sold for the last several years. We don't know anything about it, but it is being sold.
Wow.
I tried to do as much as I could on it, but they had vinyl. They had that vinyl out there for sale for $500.
What?
For $500, and I paid an attorney for a couple of hours to run it down, and you couldn't find out who did it, but it's out there. It's up on Amazon, and Apple, and somewhere else.
Wow.
And we never did a vinyl, you know. We didn't do vinyl. We only did cassette.
Yeah,
I'm gonna find it.
Somebody
That
put
gives
it
you an idea. That gives you an idea of what can happen out there on the internet.
Yeah.
How these people falsify stuff, but it is what it is, and we move on.
We'll move on. Tom, you got another question?
Yeah, I mean, also you mentioned in your bio that you gave us that your company consulted and helped develop and implement minority and women's business enterprises, and you also helped with actions against youth crime, drug abuse, and various kind of seminars and things like that. Was that just something you were passionate about? How did that come about for you?
Well, Tom, thank you for that question. Actually, I was passionate about every single thing I did. I chose them because of my passion for it. And yes, when I was teaching at the University of California, that was to train minorities in the union business. And for the women development, a lot of that came through affirmative action that we had here and the building of the federal building. So yes, I had a passion for that, still have it. And it comes under the category of giving back.
Yeah.
As far as drugs, that was to help incarcerated persons coming out of prison, hopefully stay away from drugs so they didn't go back, because that was principally the reason why they were there. Many of them were driven there by drugs and other kinds of abuse. And I wanted to keep them out of that arena and not go back to prison. So we conducted various drug seminars through the churches.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Tell us a story about the Indian brother in the Olympics.
You're talking about Billy Mills?
Yeah.
Billy Mills, that's a fascinating story. He's in the film, as you well know. Billy Mills was the first Native American to win a gold medal for the United States since Jim Thorpe in 1912. But he was the first American to win a gold medal in the 10,000 meters in 1964. Now, America, as most people know, Olympics is our crown jewel. They love that. But if it were not for this Native American, they could not lay claim to the 10,000 meter gold, because he was the first to win it, and they haven't won it since. But there's the more fascination about that story is that no one knew who he was. He couldn't get shoes. When he went to get shoes that day, they told him that the shoes were for the winners. And he said, well, I'm going to win. And they said, oh, sure. So he went over to the other shoe supplier, but they were supplying for Europeans and not Americans. So they asked him, so you're supposed to get your shoes from America. He said, but they won't give me your shoes. He said, why? He says, it's for the winner. He said, oh, come on, what's your size? They gave him a pair of shoes. He won the gold medal. Press was running up to him saying, who are you? And of course, after that, the American shoe people came to his hotel and offered him any shoes he wanted. They wanted to take pictures of it. They wanted to lay claim to that. And so he used one of their shoes and one of the shoes that were given to him in Europe because he was American to hold it. But it just goes to show how prejudice and racism and systemic racism is so inbuilt into American that's the problem. That was the problem for that. But it's a very interesting story. That he's an interesting man and a very good friend of mine.
Yeah, Tom, I'll send you the trailers. It's amazing, right?
Yeah.
Thank you. Ryan, you got another question?
Yeah, I watched a bit of it. It was very inspirational, I guess. So I guess my question is, I mean, again, so many accolades, and I'm, as I find my dad and I find family members, and I'm like, wow, like super accomplished, like giving back humanitarians. So in 2000, when you decided to create the multi-ethnic sports Hall of Fame, like what brought that about? I know it had to have been like, a culmination of a few different things, but what was the final thing where you were like, all right, I'm creating this and I'm going to make this, a movement?
You've probably realized by now that I'm motivated by different things. Mm-hmm. And when it happens, there is always a reason for that. early on, I mentioned the term that some of them I stumbled into, some suggested, others were inspired by my own feelings. The first Hall of Fame was the African American Ethnic Sports Hall of Fame.
Okay.
I changed it to Multi-Ethnic Sports Hall of Fame in 2009 to induct athletes no matter their race. But it was stimulated, believe it or not, going back to Skyler and Skytime Entertainment when I left the music business in 1998, because rap at that time was dominant, was coming into place, and I didn't want to be part of that because it was just, I didn't get a good feeling for it. Our music was about feeling, it was about helping, and Skyler Global Music for Global Change still does that. So I left the music business because of the emergence of rap, which later did hip hop, different reasons, different things, but all of I would say now 80% of the demos that I was receiving almost on a daily basis were rap artists. And I saw where it was going and I didn't want to be part of it. So I transferred the record label to our distributor in Detroit and then decided what else I was going to do. I went away to Lake Tahoe on a sabbatical for a week and a half to find that answer. The answer came in the African American Ethnic Sports Hall of Fame, because there were a number of athletes of color who were not being honored, who were not in the Halls of Fame, who should have been in the Hall of Fame. So I said, if you want to fill a void, then take control of it. My control was to establish the Hall of Fame so I could determine who was to go in, who was to be inducted in the Hall of Fame. And it's been highly, highly successful. I named a female president in 2018 and went in another direction, finished the film, wrote a couple of books, and here we are.
Yeah, I when I came up to, I think it was Vegas when you had your event, black tie event.
Yeah.
And these two Olympic guys came up and I started crying because I was so proud of you. I was like, look at these Olympian guys. And, they're like, man, I thought you was dead. These guys talking, I ain't seen you. You kept bringing all these guys together that hadn't seen each other for years and years and years, that won all these accolades and awards. I mean, it was really touching to me to see some of these people thanking you, my uncle, for bringing them together, right? After all those years of running together in the Olympics and, John Carlos and all those kind of guys, just like, it's really wonderful that what you've done with that. And then this film is amazing. That's why I'm going to get Susan to help you with it, since she's won all kind of awards. This is my second song I've had in two of her movies, and she did one in London, an event, and we won. And she gave me a big award for that because my song is We Got the Power to Change the World. She used that song that I gave to Denise for her book, right?
Yeah.
And it's just really wonderful. I'm so proud of you, Uncle. I love you so much.
Thank you, man. The film recently was a finalist at the New Orleans Film Festival.
Okay.
And at the Atlanta Movie Awards. But going back to the ceremonies you talked about, every ceremony turned into an emotional event.
Yeah.
It was like a family reunion. Folks who hadn't seen each other for many, many years, as you suggested, they say, I thought that the people forgotten about me. Oh, I haven't seen you and so forth and so on and so. But it really paid off in a lot of ways, in that there were folks who could call themselves Hall of Famers, where heretofore they were not able to make that claim. So that was the purpose of the establishment of this, is to fill that void. I today, just on my birthday, I've got about 9 texts or calls from Olympians who are in my Hall of Fame. Just this morning.
Yeah.
And then there were others who were not Olympians in my Hall of Fame who say, thank you, brother, for changing my life, for making me a Hall of Famer. My life changed when you did this. That's all I really asked for. I don't need anything else but to know that it made a difference in their lives and made a difference in other people's lives. That's what I live for.
Yeah, and you people don't know you was a DJ at one time. You was a Ike and Tina Turner, you was their promoter. You know what I mean?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Richard Pryor, oh my God, Nancy Wilson, Stevie Wonder, Marvin Gaye, Smokey Robinson. Just some of the people that I promoted, and you know, one of the things I'm really proud of, and there are a lot of things I'm proud of. One of them is the co-developer, founder of the Russian River Jazz Festival.
Yes.
You may recall we had One Love there with Michael Bolivar and Andre and Sue Fu. Sue Fu just passed away in December.
I know. Yeah.
All those things are important to me now because it made a difference in their lives and therefore it made a difference in my life.
And it's still going on, right?
The Russian River Jazz Festival is no longer.
Oh, so they stopped it? Okay.
It's no longer happening, but yeah.
Well, it was so much fun up there. You know what I mean? That's a beautiful spot up there, you know?
Yeah, we did the Rodney Strong Jazz Festival.
Yeah, you did that one too. Right.
That was fine. We called it Jazz in the Vineyards.
Yeah.
And that worked so well, so we decided to do reggae in the vineyards and held that at Rodney Strong.
Yeah.
And that went so well, we decided to do reggae at the fairgrounds. So it was a lot of great history in the Northern California and all over the country. I suppose, Skyler, while we're talking about it in the Hall of Fame, I've done ceremonies in Ethiopia, Tanzania, Kenya, New York, Palm Springs, Arkansas, Seattle. We did it. We went. What we had to do, we had to take it to the athletes because I couldn't afford to bring them to us.
Yeah.
So we took it to their region. The other reason for doing it that way is because the people in that community knew who they were, and it gave them an opportunity to see them on stage and come in and watch them being inducted into the Hall of Fame. It's just been a wonderful thing.
Wonderful. Tom, we got another question? Where we go?
Is sports something you were particularly favourable to? I mean, obviously we've talked now about the Sports Hall of Fame. You've also got the sports magazine that you were doing, as well as the entertainment world. But is sports particularly something you were big into, or where did that come from for you?
Well, it came from the late '60s when the Oakland Raiders moved to Oakland, and I became fast friends with most of those guys, and so
Right.
many of them I handled their personal affairs as well as their business thing. So that got connected me to them,
The sports world, yeah.
to the Oakland A's and to the San Francisco Giants, and then later to the Golden State Warriors, which at that time were the Oakland Warriors. Which, by the way, I was interviewed last Thursday for a documentary that they're going to do on the 1975 World Champions Oakland Warriors, and now the Golden State Warriors. That's a documentary that I think they're almost completed with it. So sports just kind of brought me into it.
A big thing. Yeah.
And sports came into me, and there was just another one that was connecting the dots. I was doing 4 or 5 different things at once. That was just one of them. But I've always loved sports. I was a basketball player.
Okay.
So consequently,
Wow.
it is something that's been very close to me. I've utilized that as a stepping stone to the next one, whatever it is. Like maybe that took me over to boxing. I don't know. It is what it is. It was what it was.
Yeah, that's right. Ryan, you got another question before we go?
Yeah, I mean, I got a question I guess it's related. So it's so interesting because you guys mentioned that you had your black tie affair in Vegas. I don't know what year that was, but I grew up in Vegas. I was probably living there at the same time, which is so crazy. And speaking of Vegas, I guess I have to ask you, what do you feel about the Raiders moving to Vegas? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Ryan, it's all economics. I have no problem with it. I've maintained my friendship with Mark, the owner. Not a lot of those players are still alive, unfortunately. Sure. I was one last Thursday, Raymond Chester, and a lot of the other guys have passed on. But I don't have a problem with it at all. I think it was a great move by Mark. His dad would be really proud of him. He'd be happy about the move. It was the right move for the Raiders as well. Although I love them dearly, I want to see them prosper. So Las Vegas was the deal for them, and I'm okay with it. I don't have a problem with it at all.
Well, Unc, I'm going to ask you for your endorsement for Music for Global Change. I know I can get it, but we're on a trajectory to have festivals and radio shows and record companies in this venue here. I'm really working really hard to get the kids to do positive lyrical content, and it could be any kind of instrumentation but I'm looking forward to lifting all the countries into this medium here. You know what I mean? So hopefully we can get your endorsement. I love you so much.
You have my endorsement, and let's face to face on it when I get there, brother.
I love you so much. Thank you, Uncle.
Right.
Thank
Love
you.
back, and Ryan, welcome. And Tom, thank you for inviting
Thank you
me.
very much.
You guys
Pleasure.
are the best.
All right, brother.
Thanks for
Thank you so
joining us.
much.
All the best.
Music can save the world. Music can save the world. If we all get together, music can save the world. Yeah. Music can save the world. Music can save the world. If we all come together, music can save the world. There's an urgency facing our humanity.
Thank you so much for watching. To stay up to date, please click subscribe and hit the bell. You can also join our group on Facebook and find us on LinkedIn and Instagram.